Hello everybody, so today I wanted to make a video talking about different studying methods that I actually use in my personal life. I've previously made a video talking about different types of learners that there are, but I didn't really talk about the different types of studying methods that I actually use. Before I get into that though, hello, my name is Janice. I make videos talking about learning languages, sometimes more specifically talking about my learning of Korean. I'll make videos talking about living in Switzerland and what's it like. At this point, not really recently, I've started talking about my eating disorder recovery. If any or all of that sounds interesting to you, have a look around on my channel and you might find something that you enjoy, and if you do, why not stick around? That's a pun with my name, and this is always awkward. Yikes. I've made a video talking about the different types of learners that there are, talking about, visual learners, vocal learners, and that was kind of the lead up to this video. So if you want to go and check that out, definitely recommend it. I'll link it down in the description. You'll find it. If you look for it. This video is mostly going to be geared towards language learning, but you might be able to find something that also pertains to, other topics as well. But it's mostly going to be geared towards language learning. The first thing I would do if you're looking for new studying methods to try out is to look at the type of learner that you are, so you can find a really effective one that works for you. But if you've already done that and you're just kind of wanting to know what I personally use to study Korean, let's get into it. I'm personally of the belief that you're supposed to kind of use all of your senses, or as many of your senses as you can, to be able to learn something, whether it is to learn maths or a new language. By that tonal difference, you can tell which one I prefer. Personally, I'm of the opinion that the more senses you can incorporate into your learning experience, the more you're actually going to soak up and actually learn, instead of just having it in your recent memory, but actually having it in your actual brain. Because if you're just learning for a test, you're pretty much just going to be memorizing stuff, and then as soon as the exam is over, you're just going to dump it out of your brain. But if you're trying to get something stuck in your brain, I would recommend to try to use as many of your senses as possible. I think reading is a really good way to start to get a grasp of grammar. If you're currently learning a language that uses different sentence structure as your language that you're used to, which is pretty much probably any language that's different. I feel like no two languages have the exact same sentence structure, maybe Latin languages. I'm going off topic. Reading things can be really, really good. You might be thinking that that's really daunting if you're just first trying to learn a language. My Korean teacher once told me to start reading newspapers, and I just kind of looked at her like, what? Because pretty much I felt like my experience would be I would just read a sentence and then be frustrated at the fact that I wouldn't be able to even read the headline. So instead what I did was I read children's books. The best thing about that is Korean children's books, there's a lot of Korean channels on YouTube which read children's books to you. Whenever I'm unsure as to what a word means, I'm able to pause the video, I'm able to look it up online and be able to translate it that way. So that's been really, really helpful. I'll also always write it down so that I can look at it again, remind myself, oh yeah, that meant that. One thing that's kind of an overlying thing of all of the topics that I'm going to be discussing is the fact that I find it really important that you do things that are important to you and that interest you. So for example, with reading, I don't recommend reading the news if you're not interested in the news. If you're interested in, say, a certain type of cooking thing, read recipes. If you're interested in manhwa, which are Korean manga, read that online or buy one, a physical copy of it. And that way the material won't get boring to you. You can also read books that you've already read. If you've read Harry Potter in English, why not try and read it in your target language? There's pretty much every single blog for every single language that there's out there, I hope. I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to find something that you personally are interested in listening. So listening to audiobooks, listening to, as I said, listening to children's stories, or even listening to music. You might be thinking that with music, you're not really going to be able to learn grammar points or anything. A lot of Korean teachers actually tell you that you shouldn't use music to learn things, but I would tend to disagree, because when I first started to learn how to read Hangul, the Korean alphabet, I was using very small words that would, help me to get into the flow of reading things more fluently. And when I first read the word 예쁘다, which means pretty, I actually recognized it. I was sounding it out and I was like, 예쁘다. Wait, I know that word. And then I remembered that I'd heard it in a 17 song by the same title. The singer Chungha released a single called Gotta Go. She sings about having to go because it's already 12 o'clock, 12시. In the chorus, she keeps singing about 12시, 12 o'clock. The song's been stuck in my brain, but because it's been stuck in my brain, I was also able to learn how to use the number systems to do with time in Korean, because there's 2 number systems in Korean, and when you're saying time, the hours and the minutes actually have different number systems. It's really confusing. You can also dissect the lyrics, that's also really interesting. So you would just print out the Korean lyrics, and then any word that you don't know, you would look up in the dictionary and write it down. And then you can kind of piece it together. Once you feel like you have a grasp of what the sentence is supposed to mean, you can even write down your translation of the sentence. And then you can go and look it up online and see if you got it right. I've done that with a song by 10 cm. Good song. So we've already covered reading and listening. What about watching? Find movies that were made in your target language. Depending on the target language, that can be more difficult or easier. You know, it depends from language to language. Depending on your level of your target language, you can also choose if you want to watch the movie with English subtitles or in the target language. Sometimes I find it more helpful to watch them with Korean subtitles. For my ears, for now at least, Koreans tend to speak very fast, and so I find it easier to pause the video and then read the subtitles instead of having to listen to them, not understand what they're saying, or only be able to pick up a few words and then get frustrated. But English subtitles kind of takes away my own ability to be able to translate it for myself. Watching things in your target language will also be able to help you learn expressions or mannerisms that people of that target language will do. You might be confronted with a situation that you personally know how people in your country would react to, but people in the target language's reaction are completely different. For example, 어떻게, you learned that in Korean that means how. But Koreans will often use 어떻게 in situations where I as an English speaker would just say, what? They'll say 어떻게, and I'm like, 어떻게? What? Why would you use that? But if you hadn't watched that, you wouldn't be able to pick up on that. Or the first time I watched Coffee Prince, that was the first time that I was really confronted with the way that people always use 아저씨 or 누나 or words like that. I had never really thought about that before, but the girl kept calling the dude 아저씨, and I was like, English subtitle, it was always his name, but she always said 아저씨, and I was like, that can't be his actual name, because that would be ridiculous. You also don't just have to watch movies, you can also watch TV shows. You know, there's like talk show TV shows or TV dramas, web dramas if you're learning Korean. You can watch translated anime, I guess. If you're already pretty strong in your target language, you'll be able to pick up slang, you'll be able to pick up natural reactions, and it can even help with your pronunciation. Those are the studying methods that I personally use. What language are you learning, and what methods are you personally using? Are you of the same opinion that you think you should use as many senses as possible? I'm not entirely sure how you'd be able to use touch as a sense of learning things, because I don't know how useful it would be to touch a cactus and then learn the word for cactus, and spike, and wound, and ouch. But this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can stick around until when I make a new one. I hope you drink lots of water, get lots of sleep, and this is the end. Bye!